And welcome back to the Young Dad Podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and today we are diving into the art of finding happiness, creating meaningful connections, and maybe talking a little bit about relationships and maybe talking about when life feels overwhelming. Who knows? Maybe we'll get to it all, maybe we won't. That's just how it is. So whether you're outside mowing the lawn, grilling burgers, hot dogs, changing dirty diapers, or maybe you're sitting down and you finally got a moment to sit back, relax, and enjoy your favorite podcast. Welcome. Again, I'm Jay, I'm your host, and joining me today is Melanie, a coach, author, and expert in helping people break free from limiting beliefs and stuck emotions. That part was about to come out really backwards and all twisted, so that's okay. So a little bit about Melanie here. Melanie has mastered how to neutralize the pain of emotions that keep us stuck or hinder us from moving forward into change for over a decade. That's a long time. She has coached hundreds of people. That's a lot of people, helping them turn their lives from misery to happiness through one-on-one coaching sessions, seminars, and videos. She doesn't just talk the talk, but she also walks the walk, as we should as podcasters and podcast guests. After decades of self-defeating behavior, she found the power within to awaken the spiritual truth, leading her to a powerful life lesson. Because of her struggles, she's learned tricks and tools to manage her emotions, create a joyous life. She now shares these truths with others, living their lives in pain and numbness, who don't realize that love and happiness are within reach. I think that's all the things about Melanie. Melanie, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much, Jay. It's great to be here.
Of course. Really excited to have you. So let's start kind of from the beginning here before we jump too deep into the conversation, even though I love jumping, feet first into the deep end. Tell us a little bit about your journey to how you got into all the things that you're doing.
Well, the short answer is pain, right? Because when life shows up and you don't know how to handle it, or it's just what you keep doing isn't working, you get in enough pain that you want to change. And if there's anyone out there that is feeling overwhelmed and unhappy with the results they're getting in life, this podcast is for you, because I really am hoping that we're going to give some good content to live your life better, to be happy. I wrote a book called Happy, Joyous, and Free because I wanted people to understand how to love their life no matter what circumstance is going on. So my story is one that is not unique. Everyone has to go through hard. Everyone has to go through pain. And so that's what happened to me. I was in a lot of pain from relationships, and that's what got me to really dig down deep and really desire with all my heart to make a change so that I could get a different result.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I feel like relationships can be one of those very much driving factors to make some changes because we realize we're stuck in patterns, we're doing the same thing. I've been through a divorce, and so that divorce was, now we're in 2025. 4 years ago, I think. Wow, time flies. I'm getting older. But that's fine. But yeah, no, for those relationships definitely make you think and make you realize, whoa, there's some things. It's not just them. And there's a big part of that too, right? With the relationships, to where as an individual, you have to step back and realize, yes, these things happen. Yes, it sucks. Yes, it hurt. But that hurt isn't the other person's responsibility to fix. No one can fix my hurt unless it's, well, they can't fix it. No one else can fix your hurt. Like Melanie, you can't fix my hurt. Only I can truly fix my hurt. It's my heart, my responsibility. It's my emotions, it's my responsibility. That self-responsibility is a very strong form of self-love, to take that into account for healing and through getting unstuck.
I love that. I absolutely love that, because part of the pain that I had was pointing the finger at other people. So I had this really big pointer and it was like, I'm unhappy because of you and you and you, and because of that. And so it started being like people, places, and things were making me unhappy. And I didn't know how to take responsibility for my unhappiness. I really did. I really believed it was somebody else, that it was that person was causing me pain. And it makes it easy to play the victim when you are blaming and pointing the finger, because then you believe that that person is doing it to you and you're the victim. So playing the victim is not a solution. And I know today that there is a choice whether you play the victim or not. There is a choice in all things. So our choices start dictating how we feel. And then how we feel dictates a behavior. And then that has a result. And so I think when we really get down to it, if you don't like the results you currently have in your life, we have to backtrack and figure out, well, where are they starting from? And so many times with the people that I work with, lots of people will say, that they're overwhelmed, that they don't feel good enough, they feel stuck. And those kind of feelings are stemmed from beliefs, and that starts pushing you towards behavior. So when we can really take a look and take responsibility, I love that you said that, because I actually didn't know how. I didn't understand that concept. And I think this is my experience, but we need people. We need others. A lot of times we have blind spots. So when it comes to taking responsibility for what I'm doing to contribute to a conflict in a relationship, if I'm always pointing the finger, then I don't know how to see my part. And so sometimes what I needed help. I needed someone to give me a tool and a skill set so that I could start taking responsibility. Most of us don't get that far. We just point the finger, we play the victim, and then we're like, the reptilian part of our brain is like, get the heck out of here. Run, hide,
Yeah,
fight,
exactly.
And so usually a lot of us, when we're headed for divorce, that's the reptilian brain, the fight, flight, freeze brain, is the one making the decisions. And, whether you've already done that, there is a lesson to learn there. And so it's okay wherever we're at, that's where we want to start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you hit on some of my favorite things there to talk about in general with a lot of people. I work in mental health, and so I talk about a lot of these things a lot. But the finger pointing as the first one, I mean, these two things that you mentioned are all connected to each other, and you laid it out very well how they're connected. So the first one's finger pointing. If I'm always pointing the finger outward, if I'm always pointing the finger and blaming and never take responsibility and always being like, oh, well, that hurt me, or they caused me to be mad, or they caused me to do this, do that. And I have to work with kids a lot on this to be like, well, they didn't make you get mad. They did something that made you feel mad, but they didn't tell you, Melanie, get mad right now. And, I can't tell you, Melanie, get pissed off right now. It's probably not going to work. Or Melanie, go cry in a ditch right now. That's not going to work, right? And so I have to work them through, even adults, and talk them through, saying, hey, yes, but those are still your feelings. Those are your feelings. Like, yes, they did those things that made you feel those things, but it's your responsibility to deal with those feelings, kind of thing. And that's a really hard thing to do, because then, like you said, it goes into the victimhood, the victim mindset, which everyone's a victim of something right now. Everyone's a victim of something, even though that person or that thing didn't really do anything to them, just more so they feel like a victim because that's what's cool. Like, the victim mindset is like, at least in my opinion, is insane, because everyone's a victim of something all the time. And there's always an excuse. There's always a reason. Oh, I couldn't do that because, or that person did this, and I'm the victim, or I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. And it's just a sad, sad, sad story. There's so many sob stories. There's always sob stories. Some of them are legit. Some of them are totally legitimate, right? In that. And that's fine. But a lot of times it's more just a way out. It's an escape. It's like, oh, man, I'm the one that's hurt here. Like, feel bad for me, join my pity party, kind of thing. Or it's like then, like you said, you have the choice. So you have choices here. You have choices along the way. There's one of my favorite psychological theories. I don't remember who it's by, but it's called choice theory. It is probably one of my favorite, if not the best theory in psychology, among others. There's other great ones, but my favorite is choice theory. And basically what choice theory is exactly what it sounds like, is I have a choice. I have a choice to take my hat off right now or keep it on my head. I have a choice to end this recording right now or keep it going. I have a choice to, do everything. Everything's a choice. I have a choice all the time for all the things. And if I want to make a choice to, point the finger outward or inwards, that's my choice. If I want to point the finger and blame and feel a victim, great. Or I can accept it. I can accept that that's reality, and then I can start to process through that. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I actually, in my book, Happy, Joyous, and Free, Love Your Life No Matter What, I have a little equation, and it's love plus choice equals peace. And love is cultivating that self-care and that self-love inside of us. Because once we have that and we increase that, that equals peace. So this is all directly proportional. When you increase your self-love and you're more aware of the kind of self-talk that you're saying to yourself, because I think part of that feeds that victimhood is that self-esteem and the way we feel about ourselves and the way we see ourselves. So cultivating self-care and self-love increases, it's directly proportional in this equation to your peace and serenity and safety, the way you feel in the world. So the other piece is choices. So when I see there's choices, I am empowered. And most of the time when people feel like a victim and backed into a corner, it's because they don't think they have any other choice than to be in the corner, which it's not true, right? So I love that part. I wanted to touch on who you want to be in the world, because I think we get so caught up in what we have to do, that we forget who we want to be. What I always help people in the beginning, whoever works with me, I always help people with, who do you want to be? And really understanding, where am I right now? Who do I think I am right now? And where do I want to go? And the best place to start is the way you begin and end your day. So I just wanted to share one tool that I have found really helpful, and that is a to be routine. So I call it's an AM PM routine. It's the way you start and end your day. But the list of things on that, it's not about a to-do list. It is a to-be list. So this actually builds self-esteem and confidence, and it helps me trust myself, because too many times we say we want to do something and then we don't do it. So this is another way to build a relationship with yourself. And once you've done that, it's a lot easier to build relationship with other people. There's a lot of lack of trust these days. And, I'll use a common problem where people want to lose weight, right? And they say, okay, tomorrow, I'm going to go to the gym, or tomorrow I'm going to eat fruits and vegetables, or tomorrow I'm not going to have ice cream in the evening, right? And then the time comes and they break a promise to themselves. And you keep breaking promises to yourself. You start feeling bad about yourself, and you don't even know why you feel bad about yourself, And, just like if you broke a promise to somebody, like I told you I was going to meet you this morning to do this podcast, there's a part of me, I had to get up at 5 a.m., to be here at 6 a.m. And there's a part of me that,
you and me both, right?
Didn't want to do that, right?
Yeah, same.
But
no, I don't blame you. No, this time is early.
So this is the quality problem, but this is real life, right?
100%.
And when there's something that I want to be. I want to be a woman of my word. I want to have integrity, and I want people to see that in me as well. But it's more important that I know that I'm true to my word, that I'm impeccable with my word. And I'm not talking about perfectionism, because we all know that that's impossible. And yet there's ways to keep growing and learning and building skill sets and developing tools that help us on that journey, on that path. Because it's becoming. To be is about becoming, which means it keeps happening. It keeps happening. So this little AM PM routine, what I do is I have my progress, because when we track, I feel like anytime you want to change behavior, you have to monitor it. You have to evaluate it. You have to reflect on it. You have to see what you're doing and be able to make an adjustment.
Yeah, you have to measure it. You have to measure it.
You
right?
have to measure it. Absolutely.
It's
Measure.
it's
You
smart
have to measure. And there's, when I think of accountability, that has like a kind of a bad connotation. But if you break the word accountability down, it means to count. Accountability is to count, which is to measure and see what's going on. So I have a little chart that has, Sunday through Saturday, and it has, a space for the thing that I want to do, how I want to start my morning to become the person I want to be. The first thing is to not push snooze on my alarm. This is so powerful. So part of my PM routine is to plan for the next day and set my alarm. And this is part of my to be list, because I the night before make a decision about the time I'm going to wake up. And then in the morning, I get up when I put the alarm on.
Well, I think a lot of people don't realize your next day really does start the night before. Like your next day starts the night before. So you have to be, and through this whole process too of your to be's and AM and PM, is you have to be incredibly intentional about it. Right? I've done a lot of talking, a lot of speaking on intentionality and just being intentional in every aspect, throughout your day, throughout your life. But, your next day starts the night before. This is one thing I have to work with families on all the time. And they're like, well, they're not sleeping good. And then they have a hard time the next morning. And then getting to school is a problem. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, well, it sounds like your morning routine is fine, like when you get up and things like that. But it's like your after school afternoon routine is already messed up. You're already setting yourself up for failure the next day. You're already setting your kid up for failure because you have inconsistent patterns. You have these struggles that go on. You eat dinner at irregular times. They shower at irregular times, and so their body is always fluctuating. And okay, well, today I have to stay up a little bit later, or today maybe we're going here, maybe we're going there, maybe we're coming back here, or wait, we're home early today. Wait, so then I can relax, or nope, then we're gonna go do this, and it's all over the place, right? So it's hard to keep that consistency to build that next habit. So you have to make those choices the night before, kind of thing. And one thing I love about my phone is that it took me forever to figure it out, but there's a sleep setting on iPhones, a sleep focus, and you can set what time you want it to wind down so that it stops pushing notifications, stops sending you notifications, it stops sending notifications to your watch, things like that. So you can wind down at a certain time and then, track and monitor those things. So anyways, continue.
Absolutely. So what happens is that we're building a skill set. So, by tracking, and there's something about the mind loves to check things off. Like if you ever have had a to-do list, don't you love crossing it off? There's something that our mind really enjoys by saying, done, check. And so I found that this has been really helpful to be able to say, yeah, I did that. And so at the end of the week, even if there's a couple of checks that I didn't do, it still looks like a lot of checks. And there's something that builds confidence in that when I see, look at everything that I'm doing to become. So it kind of tells our brain, and anyone can do this. I mean, I'm happy to send out like a PDF and we could put it in the notes, but it's like so simple. Like you can make little checks like this yourself. You know, you can make little boxes. I'm sure there's stuff on the internet you can
Yeah,
download.
if
It's
you know how
not
to use Microsoft Word or Google Docs, you can make that literally in 2 minutes. So I feel
exactly.
very confident
It's
in people.
yeah, and I started off by just putting things down that help me build self-esteem, that help me build integrity, that help me build spirituality. So, you know, things like making my bed. It's there's something about making my bed that even if the house is a disaster, the bed is made. And when I walk through my room, I'm like, there's just something about at least something is in order
Yeah,
when things
yeah,
don't feel in order.
yeah. Well, because you still have
And
control of something, right? You still feel like you're in control in that aspect, right?
yes,
Like for me, when I
and
sit down to like record and stuff or do like work and stuff for a podcast and stuff, because I'll record so many, I'll sit down and I had a big long to-do list this last weekend. It's like, okay, I need the space around me clean so I can focus and I can zone in kind of thing. So that about control, making sure we have control over our environment.
absolutely. And, you know, there's affirmations, there's even just get like being able to wake yourself up a little bit, like, you know, maybe you stretch, maybe it, and the other thing about this is that it needs to be short, especially like in the morning and you're just getting started. You want it to be like your to-be list to be under like 10 minutes, you know, and at the beginning, I would I would even put things, I had actually already built in the skill set of making my bed, but I put it on the list because I wanted to have something I could check that was already in my routine to just help build my confidence that I'm doing something for myself. And it kind of builds momentum. So in the beginning, either work on one thing or put a couple things on there that you're proud of that you already do. Even if it's brush your teeth, like that's important and that's a self-care item. It's about finding things that you're building a relationship with yourself and you're stretching yourself a little bit and then you're being accountable. So when I'm working with people and it's some people get really overzealous and they're like putting really big goals on their AM PM, and that's kind of natural for some of us, and yet and then it's hard to check it off, right? And so then we have to break it down into smaller things, and that's why it's so helpful to have somebody that you can talk to and help you break down goals to get the results you're looking for. It doesn't always have to be paid for, you know. So, you know, there's a lot of books that can help us break down goals. There's a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of information out there. Now they have AI. I love using AI, the artificial intelligence kind of stuff, the chat GPT, and they're just it's gonna be part of our lives. So I'm for it, and I'm a relationship coach. Like our relationships with other human beings is so important. I am so passionate about it. And a robot or artificial intelligence can't meet you where you're at right now. And so having that human connection is something really important. So maybe even on your AM routine, you would have call a friend, you know, text a friend, start reaching out to people, say good morning to somebody, you know, practice smiling at a stranger. We really, especially with COVID and our faces being covered up, I would really like to see people making contact again. I remember in COVID, like literally if I saw a human, because it was like, are you gonna make me die?
Right.
Like there was so much
Yeah.
fear, and and I also I worked in the hospital during that time, and it was, I mean, people were freaked out, and
Hmm.
so we got this kind of like, so like you have to stay far away from people, don't get close, don't even look at them. And so we started looking down, and we can't see anybody's facial expressions, and it's almost like we have to relearn like how to connect.
Yeah.
And the best medicine is that connection with other people and laughing. We usually don't laugh by ourselves. Like we need other people to help us laugh, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. No, and I think when it comes to like you mentioned the to be's and the AM PMs, the start and the end of your day, those have been referred to on the podcast in the past as like the bookends of your day. They're also referred to, but I think you're absolutely right. It has to start small. That's why people fail at their goals, right? That's why Quitters Friday is a thing when it comes after New Year's, right? Quitters Friday. It's the second Friday of the new year, when people quit their goals because they set goals that are too big and they don't break them down into something small. So that's where most people could use just the basic, or not even basic, like the standard chat GPT, right? They can go in, and this is what I would 100% recommend. If you're struggling with goals, setting goals, how to break them down, and you don't have that skill set, here's what you do. You're going to go to chat GPT and you're going to open it up. You're going to put in your goal, right? And you're going to say, break this down into a SMART goal: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. And it's going to break down into the different elements of your goal, right? So, boom, you just broke it down into those 5 elements. How is it going to be specific? How are you going to measure it? And then the A, R, and the T, right? What's your time frame for this goal, kind of thing? And that's going to break it down. And then, great. Then you're going to ask it, can you break it down into a 6-week plan, right? Let's say you want to start with a 6-week plan, 4-week plan, or whatever. Break it down into simple steps, and it'll break it down. If you want to break it down by week, if you want to break it down by day, if you want to break it down by 3-day increments, however you want to break it down, however you're comfortable. But that's where you can use a tool like AI if you are feeling like you lack a deficit there, right? Instead of trying to go out and figure it all out on your own, just boom, plug it into AI. It's right there. It's for some of those things. It's you every single answer and do all the things. You still have to do some of the legwork, like it can't come up with a goal for you, kind of thing, but it can definitely help and guide you. So I think it's like I love AI. I use AI. I even created an AI for me and my coworkers to use for work with like ethical guidelines and everything that we can just use to help with our treatment plans and things like that and our goals on that and whatnot. So it looks really good. It sounds really pretty and things like that. We know exactly what we're doing, but then we can put it on there and it looks and sounds really pretty and it's really nice. It's a lot of that brain work just out of it for us because we already don't have a lot of brain work as it is. I'm just trying to work in mental health and whatnot. So it can be incredibly difficult. And I also think you're right when it comes to human connection, right? To connect, we have to have conversations. Like it's really hard to build connections. It was really hard for our kids. And I work with a lot of schools and a lot of educators, and they just say, "Gosh, it's so hard with these kids right now because they're all coming in like post-COVID. Like we're really starting to see it now. A couple years back to school, it's like they just don't know how to socialize, or they're just behind, right? Or they're taking off these different accommodations that they're like, why were they taking off? Oh, of course, you can't work on social emotional learning when you're trying to do it through a screen. That doesn't work, kind of thing. And then there was so much fear and things like that. It's like people are still afraid of people. It's like we shouldn't be afraid of each other. Like, there's nothing scary about, we know now that there's nothing scary about going to a coffee shop and having coffee with your friends, right? There's nothing scary about going over to your friend's house unless your friends are sick and they tell you you're sick, and that's your choice to make, right? But it's like there's nothing scary about that. Like it's fine. Everything's fine. It's been fine for a couple years now, and we're okay. We are okay, right? So let's exhale and let's try to go back. We can't go back, right? We can't go back to how things were. We have to create a new way forward. Because yes, you can go back. You can be like, okay, well, I long for that, and that was so great, that was so cool. But it's like we just have to go forward now. Or create a new normal, create a new kind of standard. We have an opportunity to reset. And how are we going to reset? And this can be applied in relationships too, right? Like if you're after divorce, after a long-term relationship ends, or maybe a relationship with a friend, or maybe a long-time relationship with a family member that you had to cut off for a multitude of reasons, right? I've had to do that. Multiple family members. Definitely not ashamed of it at all. I'm happier because of it. But to kind of find that new way forward, maybe that was a family member or friend or relationship, and you like really relied on them. But that's part of the issue, is that you put so much into other people, you didn't put enough into yourself. You took so much happiness, you defined your happiness or defined your goals all around them, that person, that thing, right? Not around you. And that's an issue at the end of the day, because when that thing's all said and done and over, you got nothing left. You got no happiness because you defined your happiness there. You don't have any love for yourself because all your love, your sense of love and stuff came from someone else. Your goals and everything are now gone because, oh, well, that person, kept me accountable, or that person, was my motivation, kind of thing. You didn't find that within yourself. So that's an issue in itself.
Absolutely. You brought up something. I thought body language
Mm-hmm.
is a great way to change behavior. They've actually proven that like neural pathways and neuroplasticity, which is through repetition, your brain starts building new ways of looking at life. And they've found that these senses, like, visualization, or just using your eyes to see, to speak, to hear, even to smell, the more senses that you use, the easier it is to build a new neural pathway, a new brain thought in your mind. They have proven that body language, which if you've never heard of Amy Cuddy, she is so awesome. You can YouTube her, and she talks about how body language creates who you are, and lots of case studies. She's a researcher, so she uses case studies to prove that body language does exactly that. The simple thing of smiling at yourself in the mirror releases endorphins in your mind. So even if you don't feel like smiling, when you do, there's chemicals that are released from your brain. When you were talking about children, this is so perfect for, she did case studies on test anxiety, and just having children stand in a power pose, as she would call it, like hands on your hips or putting your hands up in the air for 60 seconds before a test, helped those kids do better on a test. So your body language, and when you think of like putting your hands, on your hips, like a superhero does, or what do people do when they go through like the finish line? They put their hands up. So when we are rejoicing, when we are celebrating, there's a body language that goes with that. Mel Robbins wrote a book on high fives. Giving a high five is a body language that our brain knows from the very beginning. As a kid, high five is celebrating. High five is like, yes. Her thing was the high five challenge was to give a high five to yourself in the mirror for 30 days and watch what happens, because that body language creates feelings and behaviors and results. And so I want to encourage that this is something we can do with our kids to help build self-esteem. Noticing where your shoulders are at right now, where your feet are at right now. Are you hunched over your phone? Are you using your best posture? Like, even if you are sitting in a chair, could you sit even taller? Just having good posture tells our brain that we deserve to take up space in the world, and they say that, the smaller your device that you're looking at, the worse it is for your posture, which affects your self-esteem. Because if you're kind of crouched down in your phone, your shoulders are rolled forward, your head is down. We need to start putting our chin up,
Yeah.
our shoulders back, and use that body language to tell our brain, I'm here, I'm present, I'm available. That's just a quick way to like change things in a matter of seconds. We can make that choice. You know, we're back to choice and we're back to self-care. We're back to self-talk and the way we see and view ourselves. It's so easy when we're feeling bad to start looking down, to start rounding our shoulders forward. And there's something in our brain that is released when we can just put our shoulders back. And they say that body language is the quickest way to change a mood. So notice that when the next time when you're feeling bad.
Yeah, do a quick self check, right? Do a
Yeah.
check. Where are my feet? You know, do a five senses activity. You know, one thing I can smell, two things I can touch, three things I can, or one thing I can taste, or however you want to do your five senses. Everyone's different for how they break it down. There is like a standard way to do it. The five senses. I think it's five things you can see, four things you can hear, three things you can touch, two things you can smell, and one thing you can taste right now. If I was to rattle that off, but yeah, you know, find things that ground you essentially, right? Find things that will, you know, kind of bring you back, help you, you know, bring you back into the situation that you're at, right? And have that situational awareness and to feel confident and to feel good. That's what it's all about. You got to find things that make you feel good. And how do those things make you feel good? And I love what you said about just, you know, really focusing on the small, really focusing on the small. That's one thing I've talked about on the podcast many, many times. It's just you got to start small. If you are wanting to go gain 20 pounds of muscle, you can't just show up to the gym and start benching your body weight because you're going to hurt yourself. Or if you want to get into exercising and you're really struggling with that already and you haven't exercised in 5 years, 3 years, whatever it may be, you can't just show up at the gym and get on the treadmill for an hour and then go and lift weights for an hour, because then you're going to be exhausted and sore for 3 days and then you're just going to struggle. What you got to do, or what you probably should do, I'm not going to tell you what to do because I don't know you, everyone's different, but maybe just start with, you know, going on a walk. Go on a walk. You know, go on a 10-minute walk. Start there. That's it. I have fidget spinners
And I
on my
love,
desk, and my cat likes to play with them. She's sitting on my lap.
well, I love being able to check in with somebody with your goals, because a lot of times, even if it's not a professional, if I show a friend what I'm planning on doing for a goal, first of all, they say, if you write your goal down, that is like most people don't even write their goal down, right? We think, oh, I have it in my head. And that's an easy way to lie to ourselves, right? And so we have to write it down. So first we're just writing it down for ourselves. And then the more people you can tell what your goal is. When I was dating my husband, I told him I wanted to write a book. I was like, yeah, like one day I'll write a book, right? But I told him that I wanted to write a book. That was one of my dreams. And sure enough, he kept me responsible. He kept me accountable. He kept saying, well, when are you going to write your book? And I was like, man, I wish I never told him.
Right.
I wanted to write a book, because he's following up.
Sign of a good husband right
How
there.
dare he follow up
How dare
on
him.
my dream?
How dare
How
him.
dare
Gosh, your freaking husband. But no, that's a good thing, right? That's what you want in a good relationship, right? You want someone that's going to follow up on those things, that remembers those things, cares enough to remember that. And then if you're passionate about it, that's what they should remember. I remember, it's funny that you mentioned a book. When me and my wife started dating, I was working on, or maybe we were already dating when I started it, but I had already written a children's book, like the words and everything were written. And I was just like in the process of starting to figure out, okay, I want to try to publish this. I want to get it illustrated and things like that. So I remember I would just send her, I'm pretty sure we were dating, and I would just send her, you know, the screenshots of the different pages and be like, what do you think of this? And I really like this versus this, or what do you think, kind of thing. Got her input along the way of all of it. So it was really cool. Now I have that children's book, and it's something I always wanted to do. And now I do want to write more. I have like 2 more written. I just haven't gotten around to illustrating them yet.
Yes. So when you write it down and then you tell somebody, it makes you accountable to follow through, and just another pair of eyes on it might help you make it smaller. So that, I mean, I ended up hiring a company to help me write that book, because I wasn't able, that was too big of a goal for me to do alone. So I hired help to walk me through, how do you write a book? I didn't know how to write a book because I had never written one. And it was too big of a goal to do by myself. I didn't know what the first step was, you know? So they broke it down in steps for me. And that that also kept me accountable for, okay, did you do your brainstorm? Did you do your outline? Did you write the titles for the chapter? Did you write chapter 1? You know, they just like broke it down, and it was like, after it's all said and done, was like, man, I can't believe this company makes money on breaking it down. But that's exactly what I needed. I needed someone to break it down for me. And whether you pay for it or just sometimes common sense, and you probably have friends around you, it's a lot easier, I'll tell you, it's a lot easier to see other people's problems
100%.
than to see our own. So you might even have a friend that could, if you have made some goal at the gym, that just common sense, a friend, someone you know, you're like, you know, I have this goal. Do you think this is sustainable? Do you think, you know, I haven't been able to move forward on it. Do you see another way of me starting? A lot of things are common sense. And so you might not even have to pay somebody. You could just ask. And that's another thing. Do we ask for help? No, because we don't want to look stupid. We want to think, I wanted to think I knew how to write a book. You know, I wanted to take the credit for, like, I know what I'm doing. And we've been trained to like fake it till you make it, pull your boots up by the straps and do it yourself and be a self-motivator. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. And yet we've lost the art of, again, connecting with other human beings and realizing that asking for help, it helps me, but it helps other people. Why not give other people an opportunity to support you and love you and be smart? Like, it's a nice thing to do for other people when we ask for help and let them serve us and support us. And I think we've lost that. There's a part of us that has lost being able to ask for help, and lost how important it is for both people, the person asking and the person helping.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that I feel is really important to when you are trying to make these changes, when you are trying to improve yourself, when you are trying to get out of that, you know, blame everyone, that victim mindset, and to really turn these things around, is you have to rely on other people. You know, that's one thing that I didn't do really well after my divorce. I actually pushed people away. I told them, I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to anyone. I'm just going to handle this on my own. I'm going to be lone wolf this kind of thing. You know, and it ruined quite a few relationships, really good friendships that I had for a really long time. Some of those things, you know, healed, and, you know, it was with some other guys and whatnot. And so, you know, it's a bit easier for dudes to kind of get over that stuff and whatnot. But I can tell the relationship's just different now. We don't talk as much. We don't really interact at all and things like that. Granted, everyone's busy with their stuff and doing their thing. So it's understandable. But it's definitely something needed, like you're saying here. You've got to have other people, good people in your life to help hold you accountable and to help you along the way. So
Absolutely. That's awesome.
do you have any closing thoughts before I wrap us up here?
Well, I just want to say there's hope. And no matter where you are, there is hope. And for me, the definition of hope is an expectation that things will get better. You can expect things to get better. And I just want to leave you with that. That's true. And the things that we focus, when we focus on the negative, we get more of it. So why not choose? We've talked a lot about a lot of different things today, but we've mentioned choice. So why not just make a decision right now to choose to focus on hope, and that is the expectation that it will get better. And I know from experience over and over, absolutely nothing stays the same. Impermanence means things are always going to change. It means if things are going awesome today, it's going to change. If things are going bad, it's going to change. That's part of life. And that you are capable of doing hard things. We're here to do hard things. And if you think someone has it worse than you or better than you, everybody gets to experience both ends of the spectrum in their lifetime. So wherever you're at, focus on hope today.
Absolutely. I love that. Absolutely love that. I think that's a great message to end us here. I'm just going to show the listeners that she does make appearances on the podcast sometimes. She's going to show everyone Podcast Kitty, Blue. It's been a while since she's shown up, and
So
she's gotten
cute.
a lot bigger for the
My
people that are
goodness.
keeping track on Podcast Kitty. She's still really mean and takes me a lot and stays with all the cords and everything while we're recording. So, but she's great. But yeah, Melanie, like you were saying there, hope it's going to change. Things are going to get better. They're going to when they turn. I don't know, but they're going to turn, and they are going to turn. Every storm runs out of rain. The storms are going to change course. Brighter days are ahead if you feel like that. Or if your brighter days are here, soak them up, enjoy that sunshine, and just enjoy it and try to just keep it going for absolutely as long as you can. So Melanie, again, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your practical tools that we shared today, for finding joy, improving our relationships. Your insights are a powerful reminder that small changes, that's a kind of a theme of today, can lead to big transformations. And I know our listeners will walk away or put their headphones down and walk around if they weren't already walking. Maybe they're at the gym. I don't know. Anyways, I digress. We'll walk away feeling inspired to take action. It's a metaphor there. To our listeners, if you want to dive deeper into Melanie's tools and strategy, you can visit www.happyjoyousandfree.org. Again, that's www. That'll also be linked in the description of the show notes, as well as a quick shout out here to the Podbeat app. That opening music that you heard at the top of the podcast, that is straight from the Podbeat app. You can download the Podbeat app for absolutely for free from your Apple or Google Play Store and enhance your podcasting or your audiobook experience into a musical one. It's fantastic. Love it. Use it. Swear by it. You won't regret it at all. You can mention this podcast to access some free mindset video series and start unlocking the power of your thoughts to create real change. And again, thank you for tuning in to Young Dad Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. And until next time, take care, stay present, and lead with love and, of course, some joy.